Excellent. So I have a bit more of a technical topic that we're going to talk about.
Perfect.
So I'm going to talk around field service, scheduling, all the different options there are around that. So I too, like Joe, is very sarcastic. And so we're going to schedule a call about scheduling a call. Now, to give you a little bit of background on myself, I have been working. So, Joe, I'm going to prefix this with Joe has aged himself and he's older than me based on his content. So, I'm happy to say I've been doing this for about 15 or 16 years. I'm one of the directors at Proximo 3. People may know me from Scottish Summit, community event run in Scotland, run every year. Myself and Ian started that I say way back, 2019 is when we started that event. So yeah, it's been going for a long time. I am a dual award category MVP for, I have to remember this half the time, customer service or Power Platform and Copilot. I'm also an MCT and was previously an MCT regional lead. So all of those links that Joe shared about the great exams, I've probably made them 10 times worse with my input on it.
Excellent.
So am I okay just to continue? We all good to go?
Yeah, please do. Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to go back and age myself even more here. So I started to get involved with field service and scheduling of activities before Microsoft even bought the product. So we're talking way back in the days of a product called Field One Sky. So I'm going to let that sink in. That's how aged I am. I was actually in attendance. Microsoft bought the product, finalized it on a Friday, and then the Monday in London, they actually done a 3-day field service boot camp where there was no Microsoft collateral. It was all Field One Sky collateral, but Microsoft were presenting it because they had just bought it. And this was at the time where within the platform, they only had the ability to schedule service activities. Now, I don't know if they even exist in the system anymore, but that's where we started. That's 15 years ago. And now within the platform, there's a lot more options to be had. So we're going to talk around field service, we're going to talk about universal resource scheduling, and a little bit about RSO. There are other options within the market. There are third-party applications that do it, but obviously we're on a Microsoft call. We're going to talk about the best ones that are available. So what is field service? So field service is a first-party application that sits within Dynamics 365. It's got a model-driven app that's used for the people within the office, and it's also got a mobile app that you can use when you're out and about. This is the most common scheduling engine that's used within the Microsoft platform. We also have URS, which is Universal Resource Scheduling, and that sits within customer service. So again, Microsoft first-party application sits within Dynamics 365. There's some good things to know about this as well, but when we get onto URS, we'll cover that. And we also have resource scheduling optimization, which is an add-on module within field service. Well, it's a lesser known one, but for me, it's actually one of the most fun things. And yes, I did say fun and RSO. If you've ever used RSO, it's not fun at all, but I have these weird things about me. I'm also going to slightly talk about Project Galicia. This was an internal Microsoft project that went out to partners and also to consultants to test out. It was Microsoft's way of looking at doing a light field service project. At the moment, field service is heavily geared to enterprise level customers. It's an enterprise level application for enterprise level customers. So they were working on a light version of field service that would have basic interactions. It would sit within Teams. It would actually use the database or Dataverse for field service. So it's a good application. At the moment, it has been put on the back burner. There's been some realignment within the field service teams, and it may reappear as a Copilot template. So that's some cool things that we can look forward to. For me, it is actually a sad thing because there was a huge opportunity in marketplace for SMB. I know that the team are still working on that, but we'll also talk about how you can maybe bring that to your customers or use it internally as well. So what is field service? So field service is an application that will allow you to schedule engineers, it will allow you to do jobs, and it will allow you just to manage your workforce in a more efficient way. I've worked on many an enterprise level field service project, and I don't find any of them are the same. Microsoft tells some really good stories with their marketing collateral around a person in a van is going out to do a job. There's so many different uses for field service. I've spoke with the sales team within Microsoft's field service department to talk about some of the projects that I've worked on. I'm not going into too much detail, and I think some people have already heard these ones before, but I've worked on projects everywhere from collecting cow and pig semen to rehoming female offenders. So it's all on the same platform. It's all done using the same technology. You just have to think a little and be a bit out of the box on how you deliver it. But using work orders and bookings and scheduling things, as long as that pattern is there, you're able to use it within any industry that you want. I have blogged several times on the different field service projects that I've worked on. Yeah, it's I'll not go into too much detail in these calls, but you can find them online. There's a plethora of different weird, wacky, and wonderful projects, I would say, from collecting products from animals to collecting bodies. So there's so many different things that field service can be used for. But what else can you use it for? So field service, everyone thinks of field service, a person in a van going to collect something to do work, but there's so much more to it. There's asset management, there's IoT, there's the favorite word, the buzzword of the moment is co-pilot. Field service, I was skeptical. I'll put my hands up and say I was skeptical when the field service team said we're going to put lots of co-pilot in field service. But actually using it has been great. It's been fantastic, and it actually does save a lot of time. So I'll take my skeptic hat off and say it's actually been really nice in the product and worked well. So we can use field service for scheduling the jobs, for getting the people to the right jobs, for making sure that their travel is correct. But field service is a standalone product. You need to install it, it needs to be configured. When you're installing field service and configuring it, the implementation style is not a standard Dynamics or Power Platform delivery. It's more akin to a F&O or Business Central deployment. Because the system's built in a certain way, it's about loading the right data into the platform at the right time. So as long as you have the data in correctly, it's the same as loading in your annual accounts or your transactions or your reconciliations in a finance platform. It's doing exactly the same thing. But it is a standalone platform and it's heavily geared around the data. There's not too much customization that can be done. If you're a partner or an end customer, you can genuinely switch field service on, and as long as you import the data correctly, it can be up and running in 10 to 15 days. I make that sound very simple, but that is out the box. You can do that. But there are other aspects of the platform that we can look at. So URS is Universal Resource Scheduling. And some people are aware of this, but there's not a lot of people that are. It actually comes free with Dynamics 365 customer service. So if you're using customer service, you don't actually have to go out and buy field service on top of it. In many aspects, you can actually install URS and have that up and running as part of your case management system or as part of a project management system. I know I say that out loud with Joe on the call, and Joe's probably going to shout at me after this because project operations is the way forward, but you can also use Universal Resource Scheduling to do that. You can use out-the-box customer service tables or sales. So if you maybe want to use it for having your sales people go out and visit customer sites, you can actually schedule that within Universal Resource Scheduling, or you can build out custom tables. So if you don't need the full complexity of field service, you could build your own table, add your own columns to it, and then be away and up and running quite quickly. You can also be quite clever with third-party data. So you can bring your third-party data into the system and have it be scheduled. So if you're using a booking appointment system or you're using an engineer's platform, you can just connect to their APIs or use Power Platform connectors and pull in all of that information. So there is quite a bit of configuration in the background that you need to do, but genuinely, you could have a custom table up and running within a few days. Now, I do this quite often, and I'll talk about what the decision points are. Is it field service? Is it URS? Is it totally custom? But you can get this up and running. I do it that often that I've had to write a blog for what fields need to be created. I forget every single time because you have to go down to like your latitude and your longitudes and the decimal points. I forget every single time, so I've blogged on it. So there's a blog out there with the exact steps you need to do to create a URS table. But as I say, you get that as part of your customer service license. So as a decision point, that's quite an interesting one, but we'll talk about that one in a moment. And this is where the geeky side of me comes out. So RSO is resource scheduling optimization, and it's an add-on to field service. The team, I believe, and this isn't NDA because it has been announced, you will be able to schedule tables that you've created in Universal Resource Scheduling within RSO as well. So this is now no longer just an add-on that works in field service. It will also work in customer service as well, which is really a game changer cost-wise for people. But what does RSO do? For me, it's just a magic platform. I will put in some constraints and goals. So what I might say is, okay, I want to maximize the working hours that the engineers are doing. I'd like to minimize the travel time that they've got. I maybe want to make sure that only the right people with the right skill sets are going to the job. Those are the sort of goals that I can put in to make sure that the engine is building it out correctly. I might then say the constraints are only scheduled jobs within working hours or only scheduled jobs on days that customers are available. Once I've defined that and I've created my goals and my scope, I click a button and this just disappears away at the Azure cloud. It then will, an hour, 2 hours later, spit out a schedule for me. And what it does when it's in the cloud is it will go away, it will look at the goals, it will look at the constraints, it will look at all the resources that I've got available, and it will look at all the jobs. And it can go away within 2 hours and create a 90-day schedule for 10,000 resources. It's magic, it's a black box. I don't know how it does it, I don't really care, it works. It's one of these ones where I would love to dig in deeper to understand fully what it does, but I know how it works. I know how I can manipulate it from within RSO. So for me, it works really well, and it's quite a nice and sturdy platform. But what are the real options that you've got behind this? So yeah, you've got RSO, yes, you've got field service, and yes, you've got universal resource scheduling, but at what point do you use them? What are your buying points? So for me, the field service application, the decision point for that is whether you want your engineers to use a mobile device. So field service comes with a mobile application that's pre-configured to look at certain tables within the field service app. So whether you need to use that or whether you need to do invoicing is when I would say this is what my decision point is. Now, one of the things that I've spoke to customers about when you're kind of through the sales process is, do you need full-blown field service from day one? There is an upgrade path, so you can go from using universal resource scheduling into field service as your business scales or as your business grows. So there are ways of doing it. So sometimes the quick and easy win is if you've already got a customer service license, you already have the product, so why not just configure it and go? If you then grow as a business and grow as a company, you can then add in field service and move over your data. So that's the sort of decision point that I make is, are you wanting to use a mobile app and do invoicing, or do you just want to schedule? If you just want to do scheduling, every time I would go customer service. If you need the invoicing engine, or if you want to do integration with an ERP. So right now, field service has what we call dual right, and dual right works with FinOps and BC. Now, cost-wise, so if you're using customer service, it's not costing you anything at all because you have that license. To buy a field service license on its own, uh, on my last check, and this is me doing currency conversion on the fly here, so you are £83 per license. Converting that to US dollars, I have no idea. I have enough trouble trying to convert it into Norwegian kroner right now. So USD, I'm going to struggle with. But there is a separate license, and the field service license costs the same as the license for case management or for sales. There is an additional option, though, within the field service license that is not heavily publicized. If your engineers are third-party contractors who do not work for your business, there is a contractor license. It's not something that you can buy through the marketplace. You have to contact a CSP to get it, but there is a license available just for contractors, and that comes out at $40. Flat fee, $40. It's quite a good saving, and if you're inviting people into your tenant, you don't really want to be paying the full £83 for the license, so it's a good way of doing it. In terms of the cost for resource scheduling optimization, I'm going to prefix with, yes, it's expensive, but it does a lot for its money. So with the resource scheduling optimization, you pay per engineer. So you need to buy your field service license or your customer service license. You then have an additional license on top of that, which is $30. And that's $30 per resource. But for every resource that you get, I would say that your return on investment is probably about 1,000%. Just by the travel time that's saved, just by putting the right people on the right job at the right time. And I know we don't like to put people out of work, but what it would do is rather than you having a scheduling team of 30 or 40 people, if you're using resource scheduling optimization, it actually allows you to redeploy those people into other more effective jobs within the business and runs itself. So that's the costing around it. Now, people will come and say, right, I'm using Business Central, I'm using FinOps. What is the cost for it? Like, why use field service rather than the finance and operations or the BC scheduling areas? For me, two reasons. One is the mobile application, and two is the extensibility of it. It is difficult and expensive to add new fields or do new workflows within FinOps or BC as opposed to doing it within the Power Platform. So for me, it's the ability to extend it beyond what it can do out of the box. You could also totally build something from scratch. There are people out there who are building full-blown custom solutions. And Joe mentioned earlier PCF Gallery. One of the technologies that's really taken off is the PCF components, and building schedule boards or building schedule finders or connecting with the APIs is a huge thing that's available. So you can build that from scratch. And it, again, depends on the level of your customer and what you're looking at for that. It might be cheaper to implement a basic platform for them, which you can then upgrade to customer service, or you could then go to field service again as they scale. Your other option is, like many customer that we pick up, they're currently, all of their jobs are scheduled within Excel and Outlook. They've just got a list with 400 pages, 40 columns, and 3,000 rows. And somebody knows exactly what every single one of those rows is, but you can stay in Excel and you can have shared calendars. You can stay there, but at some point, your business isn't going to be able to scale. So that's a quick, what are the options and where can you go? I will say thank you very much. And I don't have a call to action, so let's just go with Joe's call to action because Joe's a wise man.